Noisy pixel.
Following the life of a character as a premise for a dating sim seems like a great idea. Having a proper understanding of the whole childhood friends to lovers by witnessing the entire life of the character sounds rather charming. However, Real Life Plus Kaname Komatsuzaki, developed by Fanna and published by Sekai Project for an English release, is an oddball, to say the least. It's a visual novel about someone's life with lots of choices, an interesting premise, and potentially some serious depth, which unfortunately goes almost entirely unused as the game ultimately accomplishes nothing more than being a generic eroge.
Yeah, meat sauce. プリンと交換で手を打ってあげましょう。
Real Life Plus Kaname Komatsuzaki stars the faceless protagonist Koichi and, you guessed it, Kaname Komatsuzaki, the play character's childhood friend. And for the duration of the entire visual novel, that's all there is going to be. The story focuses on these two characters through the early stages of their lives, which could have been great, provided there was even the barest attempt at substance. There's no narration here, so you'll have to waddle through and figure out what's going on through dialogue that contains possibly some of the worst exposition I have ever encountered to date. There's either too much or too little, and then the scene moves on to something else, entirely rendering pretty much everything you just read moot. Like, seriously, scenes just jump seemingly at random with no warning or transition. One snap of your fingers and there's been a multi-year time skip. There's not even a hint of pacing. This stuff just happens, and you're forced along for the ride whether you really wanted to or not. Still, Real Life Plus does feature a handful of dialogue options that affect the characters and the ending. Are they any good though? No! Aside from the apparent couple, the changes they impact are merely arbitrary. The options themselves are also terrible, and possibly the worst if you actually want the player to feel even remotely like they're in the role of the player character. 90% of the time, your dialogue options are either be an asshole or be an even bigger asshole, and somehow we're supposed to expect that Kaname puts up with this stockpile of human trash that Koichi is. Kaname is a generic anime love interest who magically has eyes for Koichi, whose dialogue choices barely even give you the option to be a decent human being without acting like an entitled whiny child. It feels like there's supposed to be some romance here, but Koichi is as smooth as a pit of spikes. One selling point is that it makes references to different periods, and frankly, that does the writing no favors as the references boil down to, hey, check out this thing you've probably heard of, and then the story moves on. It's a peak example of just dropping names for the sake of dropping names. The character art is actually pretty good, but it is sabotaged by its placement as the developers have no grasp on what headroom is. The first two portraits of Kaname are positioned in an extremely uncomfortable fashion, with her head jutting out the top of the screen. It's absolutely baffling and really doesn't help distract you from the clearly stock assets that make up the backgrounds or the very messy UI. The text is white on translucent pink, while also being very small, making it very hard to read. The sound settings are also super wacky, as random background songs will suddenly be much louder than they were before, drowning out the voice actor from the one character in the game. You'll find there are basically no CGs unless you download the outside hosted H patch to discover they're just H content, which, while artistically looks decent, it's more than clear that this is the only reason I could see someone picking this title up. Real Life Plus Kaname Komatsuzaki will cost you both your valuable time and money with next to nothing in return. You'll be able to clear it at least once in just half an hour, experience some terribly placed attempt at storytelling to set up some H scenes, and then wonder why you spent $12 on this. Unless you're looking for a title with some good H art and nothing else, I can think of no conceivable reason to pick this one up. Noisy Pixel is giving Real Life Plus Kaname Komatsuzaki a 4 out of 10, and that is being very, very nice. Thank you guys so much for watching. Noisy Pixels, a group dedicated to bringing you guys the best news, videos, previews, and more. Please stick around by ringing the little bell and subscribing if you haven't already. And, that lets you stay up to date with all of our future content. Hit me up with some better games, please. Literally anything. I'm sure you can find better titles on Steam that aren't listed at like $12. I think you can get 3 episodes of Higurashi. You can get half of Higurashi When They Cry for the cost of this title. Why wouldn't you?